The micro-black hole named Abzu 9 was no larger than a plum, but its gravity ruled a battlefield 500 kilometers wide. Every orbiting plate of alloyed armor, every sliver of drifting dust, spiraled around that singular core like insects frozen in amber, its event horizon wrapped in an iridescent haze of hawking radiation. On the shimmering boundary, the interstellar rangers of the Terran Accord waited in shell hull breastplates that flickered between mat and mirror with each quantum burp from the singularity. Their boots clung to the narrow span beneath them, a magnetic suspension bridge spun from captured stellar threads, each filament siphoned from red giant coronas and braided by solar-forged spiders into cables thinner than hair, stronger than dwarf star diamond. The bridge arced away on either side in a graceful loop, suspended above the churning violet maw, where space itself seemed to melt. Captain Lyra Salazar, heart drumming a war cadence in her ears, checked the holoscroll flashing across her visor. The feed showed 5 Ranger life signs, her own included, pinned against 20 enemy mech knights advancing from the far curve. The knights cut a fearsome silhouette, 3-meter warframes, gleaming basalt plates layered over skeletal exos, each stride accompanied by the crackle of graviton lance capacitors. They belonged to the fractured dominion of hell, who considered the Accord's attempt to bottle a micro-black hole an unforgivable act of hubris. They would have preferred to let Abzu 9 drift freely, a celestial mine waiting for the next unsuspecting string of civilian habitats. But Hell's feud with Terra was older than this singularity. Today, the vendetta was simply wearing a new mask. Salazar's team, Rangers Calder, Imani, and the twins Bao and Lin, stood spaced evenly along the bridge. Beneath their feet, the luminous chords trembled in tidal resonance with the black hole's heartbeat, humming like plasma harp strings. The Rangers' mag boots locked to the bridge's polarized lattice, but every tremor still teased balance from their ankles. In the void around them drifted debris from prior engagements, shattered drones, spinning motes of crystallized oxygen, and one slowly tumbling Ranger banner, its fabric catching rad light like stained glass. Distance 74 meters, Calder's voice crackled through the neural mesh. Mech Knights deploying tower shields. Salazar inhaled. The air in her suit tasted sterile and cold, instantly recirculated through carbon scrubbers. Rangers, set lances to phase wave, she ordered. We can't pierce their shields directly. We'll use the bridge itself. Imani, the resident physicist, responded with a quick diagnostic ping, her version of a thumbs up. Bao and Lin switched their carbon fiber claymores to conductive mode, blade edges glowing blue-white as microcurrents bled into them. Calder shouldered his stellar glaive, a 2-meter staff whose twin ends crackled with antimatter foam contained by flickering stasis nets. Ahead, the Mech Knights halted as if on an invisible line. Their commander, a towering unit with gilded pauldrons, stepped forward. Its voice boomed through broad band speakers, rich yet metallic, like a cathedral organ drowning in static. Accord Rangers, vacate the event horizon, hand over the singularity stabilization codes, and we will grant you evacuation. Salazar toggled her visor's external amp. Come take them, if your servos can manage the climb. Negotiation ended. The bridge trembled again, a deep bass rumble echoing up from Abzu 9's throat. Somewhere below, an eddy of infalling gas shredded itself into photons, casting up a prismatic aurora. For an instant, time seemed to stop. Then the commander raised a gauntleted fist, and the mech formation advanced. They moved with impossible grace for so much mass, servo joints singing, grav null pads flaring. Their shields fanned outward, a segmented shell of hexagonal plates that shimmered with interference patterns. Lances sprouted along the edges, each tip caged in coiling lightning. Calder vaulted forward, using the bridge's upward bow as a springboard. At the apex of his leap, he drove his glaive into the bridge cable, discharging a focused phase wave that rippled along the stellar threads. Like striking a cosmic guitar, the vibration traveled toward the knights more swiftly than any direct shot could have. When it arrived under their boots, the bridge flared silver, and localized gravity inverted. Several mech knights, expecting solid footing, found themselves flipped sideways into open vacuum. Two managed to clamp spiked heels into the filament, but three spun away, mass versus centripetal desire, disappearing into an endless spiral around the black hole. Cheers erupted over Ranger comms, but Salazar held a hand up. Silence. The enemy still numbered more than the Rangers 5-1, and unlike the flung troopers, these suits had lateral thrusters. They might yet rejoin the fight. Salazar sprang forward, sprinting low, her own lance folded telescopically along her arm, the point glowing sun-bright. She met the first knight at 30 meters. A tower shield smashed toward her like a descending gate, but she dived, planting a palm on the line, sliding under in a shower of ion sparks. As she slid, she slashed upward, carving a melt seam in the shield's underside. The knight attempted to torque, but the weight of its defense betrayed it. The shield cracked apart, pieces pinwheeling away. Lynn appeared behind the same knight, twin sabers drawing glowing cursive through vacuum. She raked one blade across its knee actuators, the other across its neck ports. Hydraulic fluid, blackened helium oil, vented in plumes. The mech sagged, then toppled slowly, crashing through the lower plane of the bridge and plummeting into the singularity's halo like a falling star. Imani, meanwhile, overclocked her suit's gravitic manipulators, capturing stray shards of metal and oxygen ice, welding them into a makeshift swarm of projectiles. With a gesture, she loosed them at another pair of knights, peppering armor joints, scouring sensors. As those foes staggered, Calder lunged, his glaive uncaging antimatter at contact. The resulting microblast ruptured one knight's chest plate. Purple-blue fire bloomed, then returned to vacuum silence. But the Dominion commander adapted quickly. His remaining units shifted into a phalanx, overlapping shields to form a wedge that deflected bridge vibrations and redistributed momentum. The wedge advanced with glacial inevitability, 40 robotic feet stomping in perfect sync. Each step sent pulses back through the cords, destabilizing the Rangers' footing. Salazar understood the math. If they reached mid-span, mass differential alone would shear the bridge, catapulting everyone to oblivion. She opened the echelon channel. Imani, can we realign the weave frequency? Something to cancel their stomp resonance? Possible, Imani replied, mind already racing. But I need a direct insert into the bridge's induction lattice in 15 seconds. Do it. We'll buy you the time. Imani drove a probe stream coupling into the cable, her gloves nanobristles meshing with the living weave. Data flooded her HUD. The bridge was a miracle of astroengineering. Each stellar thread retained memory of the star it came from, oscillating with faint solar song. She hummed the bass line of that frequency aloud, letting her suit translate pitch into modulation commands. The bridge lights dimmed, then brightened, as oscillations rewrote themselves. Upspan, Bao performed a reckless cartwheel over a mech knight's shield edge, landing on its shoulder plating. He jammed a blade between neck and torso, twisting until servos squealed. The mech grabbed for him, but Salazar fired a tether line, yoinking Bao free moments before the knight detonated its own power cell in furious spite. The explosion tore a hole in the phalanx, yet the commander's formation hardly faltered. Its core shields opened to reveal a spinal railgun, barrel lined with supercooled magnets. Railgun! Angling for the stabilizer array, Calder warned. The array, 12 microsatellites in tight orbit, kept Abzu 9 from devouring itself. A single slug through a keynode would collapse the entire containment scheme, transforming the battlefield into a countdown to vacuum death. Salazar swore softly. Lynn, intercept that barrel. Lynn sprinted, cloak flaring. The commander tracked her, sights glowing scarlet. Within 2 heartbeats, it fired. Lynn pivoted mid-stride, both sabers spinning to form an X-shaped shield of their own. The rail slug caught the saber's electromagnetic fields, deflected a hairbreadth, and vanished into blackness, missing the satellites. But the force snapped Lynn's wrist actuators, and she tumbled, suit screaming damage. Even as Salazar moved to assist, the commander was already cycling another round. Calder hurled his glaive spear-like. It struck the side of the railgun barrel, forced an angle change, but the mace-like butt of a secondary knight hammered Calder, sending him skidding across the bridge until centrifugal forces yanked him outward. hanging by only one boot magnet. Imani's voice chimed. Frequency realignment complete. Now! Space itself shivered. The bridge let out a chord that seemed to vibrate inside bones rather than ears. A resonant hum at half the mass frequency of the black hole. Suddenly, the dynamic along the stellar threads inverted again, but not merely under the Mech Knights. Instead, the ripple generated a standing wave with nodal points precisely where the phalanx's feet were planted. Their mass amplified the effect, turning harmless oscillations into violent cannonades. Shields fractured as torsion ripped through their joints. Knight after knight stumbled, losing sync. Some pitched sideways over the edge. Others toppled onto comrades, creating a metallic pile that writhed and shuddered. A few, however, survived the chaos, including the commander, who deployed grav anchors to pin himself in place. His warframe braced like a star fort. He shouldered the railgun again and aimed directly at Imani, recognizing the source of his setback. Salazar toggled her reserve thrusters. Only 10 seconds of burn time remained. She blasted forward, crossing 40 meters in a heartbeat, arriving just as the commander's trigger depressed. She intercepted, interposing herself between barrel and scientist. Lance raised. The rail slug erupted, the velocity compressing air molecules into plasma even in near vacuum. Salazar thrust her lance tip into the oncoming slug. The lance's singularity edge, nano-aligned diamondoids pushing into Planck's scale, shaved off slivers of the slug's nose, redirecting momentum downward, but impact still hurled her back. Internal suit vectors jammed, ribs cracked, visor flashed warnings. Pain swarmed her nervous system, but she had bought another 2 seconds. Calder, now re-anchored, yanked a hidden photon scythe from his calf module and carved into the commander's left knee joint. Bao and Lin, despite Lin's damaged wrist, converged, one saber and one blade singing. Sparks erupted like fireworks in a vacuum silence. The commander's shield arm spun, catching Bao across the chest plate, sundered armor spiraling away. Lin leapt, stabbing a saber into the commander's optics. Its head turret rotated 180 degrees, twisting free of the blade, revealing secondary sensors. It slammed an elbow into Lin, who careened dangerously close to the bridge's edge, suit thrusters fizzling. Salazar regained balance, ignoring sharp breaths that hurt. "All Rangers," she gasped, "discharge every last jewel into the bridge threads. Full cascade." Calder hesitated a microsecond, enough to confirm she was serious, then jammed his scythe into the cable, releasing every stored coulomb. Imani rerouted suit batteries, overrode safeties, flooding energy. Bao and Lin repeated the action. The bridge glowed from deep within, light swelling until person and cord were silhouettes cut from pure white. The captured stellar threads, already resonating, entered a superluminous state. Fused photons raced along fibers, hitting the commander's grav anchors. For an instant, his mass pinned an energy wave that wanted desperately to continue. The resultant shear produced a cataclysmic snap. Anchor lines spat molten flux. The phalanx ruins were hurled outward like leaves. The commander's armor peeled away layer by layer, torn as though by invisible claws. He roared. Whether coded algorithm or genuine anger no longer mattered. With one last gesture, he triggered a core overload, intending mutual destruction. But Salazar's lance, still buried in the bridge, siphoned that overload into the weave. The bridge drank the explosion, light coursing outward into the black hole's rim. Abzu 9's wake flared, a ring of violet fire, then swallowed the energy whole with a satisfied hush. When the glare dimmed, silence reigned. Only 5 human heartbeats echoed on comms. All Dominion signatures were gone, spiraling forever in orbits that would end only as Hawking radiation carried them into vapor. Salazar knelt, catching her breath, ribs stabbing at each inhale. Around her, Rangers rose shakily. Lin cradled her wrist, Bao held his cracked chest plate. Calder's visor leaked condensation where seals had splintered. Imani, miraculously intact, scanned the containment satellites. "Stabilizer grid uncompromised," she announced. "Containment holds." The victory felt reverent, not triumph painted in blaring horns, but a quiet acknowledgement between survivors sharing the impossible. Over the black hole, the bridge threads cooled, color shifting from incandescent white back to faint gold. Some sections were frayed, their luminosity dimmed forever, but the span endured. A soft ping touched Salazar's ear, a wideband hail from high orbit. Accord command to Ranger Strike Team. Status? Salazar stood, planting the butt of her lance into the bridge. Abzu 9 secured, enemy forces neutralized, event horizon stable. Recommend immediate evacuation for wound management, but the singularity remains ours. Copy, command responded. Extraction array inbound. Expect rendezvous in 7 minutes. Bao laughed, a short, incredulous bark. 7 minutes? After all that, they can't give us 8? Even through bruised lung, Salazar chuckled. 7's enough. We've got a view worth savoring. Together, the 5 Rangers turned toward the horizon, where gravity painted warped constellations across curved spacetime. From here, the universe looked like a kaleidoscope, stars bending round the singular glow. The bridge beneath their feet hummed gently, a lullaby from distant suns whose stolen filaments had helped carve a path through death. Calder nudged Salazar, pointing at a tiny glimmer rising from below. One of the fallen mech knights, not yet fully captured by gravity, its chassis burning as it spun. Think the Dominion will send more? They always do, Salazar answered. But so will we. She tightened her gauntlet. In silence, they watched debris tracing lazy arcs, drawn hypnotically around the micro-black hole, performing their doomed waltz. In that dance, the Rangers saw a mirror of themselves. Fragile, luminous, yet stubbornly tethered to purpose. Extraction pods approached, their engines warbling higher as they fought against Abzu 9's pull. One by one, docking clamps locked onto Rangers. Salazar boarded last, giving the bridge a farewell salute. The stellar threads thrummed in response, almost like harp strings acknowledging a performer. Moments later, the pods fired retros, rising away from the event horizon. Through the viewport, she saw the bridge recede, a shining thread across darkness. Behind it, Abzu 9 gleamed, an eye at the center of eternity. It would continue to feast and whisper and blur the edges of physics, but for now, humans still claimed dominion over its rim. As the pods veered toward the distant flagship, Salazar closed her aching eyes. In memory, she felt again the bridge vibrating through her bones, the heat of starborn filaments under her boots, the cold gaze of mech knights, opposites stitched together on the thinnest strand between existence and abyss. She knew they would be called back someday to defend the impossible on another impossible frontier. And when that day came, she would return. Because there, on the very lip of nothingness, she had found something worth guarding. The fragile chord where courage, science, and sheer human defiance harmonized with the music of the stars.